Hello, bruv. I'm back with more books. If you can hear, the wash machine's on, so that ought to add some extra ambience to these already over exciting videos. First three books really aren't. I mean, I guess I own them until I sell them. Hollow Mirror, The Venoms, blah blah blah. Three books from Tiffany Trent that I'm gonna sell, hopefully for $15. She'll pay for all this shit. I don't know what it's about. I don't care what it's about. But I know they're worth something, so I'll sell them. Women Who Kill by Ann Jones. I mean, that sounds pretty self-explanatory. Self-explanatory. And, yeah. Ann Jones has accomplished an extraordinary feat. Her powerful study of women who murder is exhaustively researched, persuasively argued, and beautifully written. This is a groundbreaking book with originality on every page. Her serious examination of a slighted phenomenon, female murderers and those accused of murder from colonial times to the present, adds to our knowledge of American history in every century. Written with compassion and go to fucking hell. I would rate compassion. Great fucking chair or table we got, yeah. Ayn Rand idea, the novel and the play. I believe I already have this book, but why not get 7, 8, or 8 of them? Maybe even 100. Night of January 16th. Yeah, I do believe I have this already. And I do believe I have it in hardcover. And I do believe I have the first printing too. Alright, so no one knew for certain who Kay Gonda was. There were people who said they remembered her when she was 16 and working in a corset shop in Vienna. She wore a dress too short for her long, thin legs, with sleeves too short for her pale, thin arms. No one called her beautiful. Men never approached her. And landladies were eager to throw her out when she was behind in her rent. There were also those who remembered her 2 years later, when she worked as a maid in a disreputable hotel on a dark side street of Vienna. They remembered her walking down the stairs, holes glaring in the heels of her black cotton stockings, an old blouse gaping open at her throat. Men tried to speak to her, but she did not listen. Then, one night, she listened. He was a famous film director who had not come to the hotel to see the maid, but the great director denied vehemently the story of where he had discovered Kay Gonda, his greatest star. In Hollywood, she wore plain, dark dresses designed by a Frenchman whose salary could have finance and insurance concern. Her mansion was entered through a long gallery of white marble columns, and her butler served cocktails in tall, narrow glasses. She walked as if the carpets and the stars and the sidewalks rolled softly, soundlessly from under the suspicion of her foot's touch. Everyone envied her. No one said she was happy. That poor little baby girl. Look how sad she is. God versus the Gavel. Religion and the Rule of Law by Marcy Hamilton. This book better not be moisture exposure. Have moisture exposure to it. God versus the Gavel addresses the question, should the law govern the conduct of religion, individuals, and institutions? No. The answer, according to legal expert Marcy Hamilton, is a resounding yes. What the fuck are you talking about? Marcy Hamilton is an original and provocative First Amendment scholar whose views have enriched and enlarged the debate about religious liberty. She saw the potential constitutional problems with laws like the Religious Freedom Restoration Act well before many others did. Her voice simply cannot be ignored. I mean, I pretty much ignored it for all of my life. So, I mean, so she believes the law should govern the conduct of religion, individuals, and institutions. And she's wrong. She's a communist. Still bought it. The facts on file. Dictionary of classical, biblical, and literary allusions. Or illusions. Proudy Bishop. Proverbs. Mispros. Proteus, a lesser sea god, son of Oceanus and Tithys, the promised land. Prometheus, a prophet, is not without honor. Anyway, you get the idea. It just tells you what that shit is. Since I'm a dictionary collector, that's what's what. What the fuck is this god-awful sticker on the side of this motherfucking book? And another one. Oh, that came off. Easy, buddy. Much better. Urban legend, 666 absolutely true stories that happened to a friend of a friend of a friend. By Thomas J. Crawwell. Obviously, it's a Barnes & Noble book published by them. Looks like the person never cracked it open. Elvis's motorcycles, When Playboy magazine, Lethal Hospital Room. Notice how they have 666 of them. Now this book can go into two collections. Both my Hudson book store collection, which I have quite a few books, or it can go into just regular hardcover and cards. The Las Vegas Expert's Guide to Craps, Blackjacks, Card Games. Since it's vintage, it might be worth some money. I don't know. I didn't feel like looking. Like I said, it can go in my Hudson's collection if it's not worth anything. 68, 1970. Lisa story. Compiled by Art Peel. Edited with commentary by Mitchell John McKay. The Interrupted Life of Petoskey, Michigan's first female police officer, Lisa M. Peel or Pyle. Oh, it's even signed by Art Peel. Oh, I guess Art Peel's related to her. Why the hell would you sign the actual book? At the page. The Interrupted Life. All those who have been discriminated against. As told through her own journals, transcripts, recordings, interviews, and statements of those who knew her, the majority of this information having been compiled and sworn to be true to the extent of verifiable certainty by Art Peel, father of Lisa. This is the story of the first female police officer in northern Michigan town of Petoskey, lakeside community of 6,200, known for their pristine beauty. The anomalies herein, lack of crime and congenial atmosphere, blah, blah, blah. The anomalies herein will come as some surprise in an area perceived as such by the world. And indeed, the eyes of the world are upon it as these events add to the awareness of historic small-town life as it encompassed by the greatest events of the metropolitan. Lisa's story is one which will shock the reader into the realization of misconduct by powers of authorities. Did she die or was she killed or what? Though there are culprits to be found, it will be seen. But writing hopes to have some cause of no sequences leading to the death of one individual whose role now transcends the individual and bespeaks of a concept that needs constant addressing by a society as a whole. Lisa's story by Lisa and friends, that her life and passing be not in vain nor forgotten. We'll never forget you, baby girl. This book's got potential, both as a Mylar jacket and as a book of scarcity, which may be worth something. I think Minby is in Saskatchewan, British Columbia, but I could be wrong. Thought I read it was in BC. Shut up, wash machine. Lisa Pearson was born on the prairies in 1918, the son of Oscar and Alma Pearson, Saskatchewan pioneers who came from Sweden. Anyway, taking that cover off there. That's nice and waterlogged too, don't it? That's great. Don't care. The Summer Wind, George Anastasia, Thomas Compano, and the murder of Anne Marie Fahey. Is she from Michigan too? Maybe not. Is that Jeff Fahey? Or is that like an actor? In the end, it always came back to this. Anne Marie Fahey was dead because she had said no to Tom Capano. After all the theories and the speculation and the bizarre, outlandish, and incredible testimony that had been offered and the jury had reached its verdict, that was the bottom line. Capano killed her because she refused to resume their affair. Fahey had been thrilled and excited by the attention of this suave, powerful, and sophisticated lawyer. For years, she was seduced by the aura of Tom Capano. And the nature of the seduction itself seemed part and parcel of the morality of the times and era when celebrity, even on a local level, was more important than character, when status meant more than integrity, and when money was the common measure of a sin, of an individual's worth. Poor little girl. These vicious bastard men. This poor little baby innocent girl who never did anything wrong. And this man, this beast. I'm sure my mother will hate that book. Lost Beauties of the English Language by Charles Mackay, LLD. Unfortunately, it's got water damage, but originally published in 1874, Lost Beauties of the English Language contains a treasure trove of archaic words, lovingly culled from sources of Old English. Let's check out a few. Jesus Christ. Vady. Damp, musty, decaying. Vap. Vade. To fade quickly into death or decay. I will be using vade. That's a good word. Burr. Force, impetus, a man without strength of mind, or burr, ver or burr, said in the border counties and in Scotland to have no burr in him. The lads unwilling yet to stir, fire off their nonny guns and veer, burr, wood. Oh no. Had another book to the Dickhead Dictionary collection, Naruto. I think you all know Naruto and what he is, and what he could be. I know I have another one. My kid refuses it, so my kid gets nothing. Belinda by Anne Rice, writing as Anne Rampling. She also had other pen names during her life. And most of those books have value too. Being that what is this? Is this the first edition? Either way, it's probably worth about 30 or 40 bucks, so I had to get it. Bend down, excess is the only ease, so bend, the sun is in the tree. Put your mouth on mine, bend down, beam and slash, for dread is dreaming up scenes of what comes after death. Is being fled from what bends down in pain, the elbow bends in the brain. Fuck you, Stan Rice. I do like that cover, though. Oh, that girl looks bald. This was in a different book at the library, and I just took it and put it in mine. So I got a little booklet on Hofritz knives, which is great. Just great. Tales of the Water Tower Mouse. Now, you may think, why is Bob buying this fucking kid's book? But then you realize it's the Ypsilanti Water Tower. Well, a kiddie book based upon the tower. And Sandy Jones, who signed the book. See, Sandy signed it. And wrote it in 89. This was printed in 2000. Anyway, Sandy she just fell in love with the old water tower in Ypsilanti when she attended Eastern Michigan University in the late 1950s. When her husband, Bruce Jones, became director of the water and sewer service in the community, the family moved to Ypsilanti and resided there from 71 to 95. They have 3 children. All right. Sandy often thought about a small mouse that may live in the tower. I've had enough. Oh, shit. I forgot about my pumpkin seeds. They go with my other pumpkin seeds. I got these fuckers at Goodwill, where I bought this book, The Wayward Puritans, but I could not resist the pumpkin packs with these faces on them. 100 years from now, somebody will find these in one of my books. And they'll be like, oh, shit, look at this. Cool ephemera. Wayward Puritans. A study in the sociology of deviance, which most of you who are listening are to some extent. All 2 of you. Erickson has produced a fascinating and superbly written study of deviance in 17th century Massachusetts. The combination of strong historical scholarship with contemporary sociological theory makes this study one of the general interest in sociologists. This book used the Puritan settlement in 17th century Massachusetts as a setting in which to examine several ideas about deviant behavior in society. Combining sociology and history, Erickson draws on the records of the Bay Colony to illustrate the way in which deviant behavior affected the texture of social life. The main argument of Wayward Puritans is that deviant forms of behavior are often a valuable resource in society, providing a point of contrast which is necessary for the maintenance of a coherent social order. In the course of developing this argument, Erickson discusses various aspects of life in the 17th century New England, focusing his portrait on the people who came to be thought of as deviant and the people who took a leading part in defining them as such. He looks at 3 crime waves which took place in the first century of settlement and suggests that the style of deviation the community experiences has something to do with the way it visualizes the boundary of a cultural universe. Oh, wow. This actually sounds interesting. I assume the Puritans would have fucked you up if you committed crimes. Maybe they did. Maybe they did. One of the most interesting aspects of the Quaker crisis in the Bay was that no one seemed very concerned to describe what the Quakers were talking about in theological terms. Yeah, they probably didn't know. Shakespeare the playwright, a companion to the complete tragedies, histories, comedies, and romances. I figured since I haven't, basically, I don't think I've ever read anything beyond Shakespeare's poetry. I've read books about Shakespeare, but never anything about that he wrote. Well, he didn't write it anyways. Francis Bacon supposedly did. But, so I might as well have explication of the books that I'll never read. Signs Preceding the End of the World by Yuri Herrera. For some reason, this book sells for about $10. And I got it without really reading anything. And then when I read a few pages of this, I was like, what kind of bullshit is this? If this guy's Mexico's greatest novelist, I got some fucking problems. When she reached the top of the saddle between the two mountains, it began to snow. Makina had never seen snow before, and the first thing that struck her as she stopped to watch the weightless crystals raining down was that something was burning. One came to perch on her eyelashes. It looked like a stack of crosses at the map of a palace. That's fucking terrible writing. I don't know if this guy's bilingual or the translation sucks, but it's terrible. The Armchair Birder, Discovering the Secret Lives of Familiar Birds. I mean, everyone knows what a goddamn bird is. William Atheling Jr., The Issue at Hand. Edited with an introduction by James Blish. I believe this is just like a reproduction. For several years, hiding under a cloak of anonymity, the most penetrating critic of the field of magazine science fiction was known as William Atheling Jr. It soon became a challenge to guess his real identity, and that was no easy game, for Atheling's dissection did not spare even his other ego, the noted science fiction writer James Blish. Having shed his protective covering, Mr. Blish has assembled many of the Atheling papers and edited them into the present book. It covers principally the science fiction magazines from 52 to 63 and is virtually a text for would-be writers of science fiction. Nor is its value limited to that genre. The rules of good writing are universal. I think I can sell it for $10, which is why I bought that. I don't give a fuck about science fiction. His Excellency George Washington. Joseph J. Ellis. I mean, we all know who George Washington is by now. You're fucked.